poverty, and I belong at the meeting there. We are building our power, and I belong. I belong. I belong. We are building our power, and I belong. I belong at the meeting there. There's a meeting in Washington, and I belong. I belong. I belong. There's a meeting in Washington, and I belong. I belong at the meeting there. Yes, we are shining the light on poverty, and I belong. I belong. I belong. We will shine the light on poverty, and I belong. I belong at the meeting. Yeah, there's a meeting up in Washington, and I belong. I belong. I belong. There's a meeting up in Washington, and I belong. I belong at the meeting there.
Yes. Great, 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 great. This is Bishop Barber, and I want to ask y'all before you leave. That's powerful. There is a meeting happening in Washington, and I belong, you belong, the whole nation belongs. Anybody who believes in justice belongs. Do you have it in you to do a line or two of the kind of the call anthem of this the reason why? Because somebody's hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long. And we can't be silent. We can't be unseen. We can't be unheard. We can't be underestimated any longer. It's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Do you have a line or two in that in you tonight?
I think I got a line or two. If everybody would agree to, right where you are, continue to lift your energies, and let's sing this, okay? Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Did you hear? Somebody's hurting our families, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting our families, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Did you hear? Somebody's hurting this nation, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on. I tell you, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's hurting this nation, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. No, 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 we won't be silent anymore.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Rob, I don't know. I'm having some problems with my phone. Can you let me know that you're hearing me at the very least?
Yeah, hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
Great,
Yep.
great. I'm so sorry. I actually had the camera up and I pushed something I wasn't supposed to push, and I don't have the computer where I am up. So, but listen, this is Bishop Barber, President, Senior Lecturer, Repairs the Breach, and co-chair along with Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And right now, right this very moment, we are less than 8 weeks out from mass poor people's low wage workers assembly and moral march on Washington and to the polls. And if America ever needed it, it's right now. There's so many reasons that there's a meeting in Washington, D.C., and we belong. Too many of our brothers and sisters have been hurting. It's gone on far too long, and we can't be silent anymore. And we need everybody to be mobilized in every way, massively, poor, low-wealth people, religious leaders, and advocates. Tonight, as a part of this all call, I want to share with you an insight, something I've been thinking about and writing on how what we're doing connects to Russia's assault on Ukraine. I want you to hear me tonight as this first call. We're going to be doing a number of these in preparation for June 18th. And let me thank everybody, a part of the team, everybody who's doing something from every state, our executive director, Dr. Jackson, all of the deputies, everybody in every state, every volunteer. But listen to me tonight. I think there's a picture up, but just hear me. Russia's assault on Ukraine has produced scenes that demand action from people who want to hold on to our humanity. To see the butchery at Bucha and the massacres at Mariupol, and do nothing would be to forfeit any claim to moral authority. We know this instinctively. It is why, despite the political gridlock on Capitol Hill, Republicans and Democrats have acted swiftly to approve historic military aid to Ukraine because they see the devastation. In the face of such a moral imperative, it would be anathema for either party to ask, how are we going to pay for it? But our moral clarity on the question of Ukraine exposes a contradiction at the heart of the America politics for the last 40 to 50 years. In 1967, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. told the story of visiting Marks, Mississippi, and meeting a school teacher. And there when he met that teacher who cut her apple into several pieces at lunch each day so that students that had nothing else to eat could share it for nourishment. In the richest nation in the history of the world, King knew when he saw that it was a moral contradiction to witness such poverty and then do nothing. So he agreed to work with a coalition of Black, white, Latino, and Native poor people to make America see the human suffering in its midst. King was gunned down for his effort to open up the vision of America, to build a poor people's campaign, but the mobilization helped compel the government to launch a war on poverty. Republicans and Democrats agreed for a moment that it was unimaginable to simply look away. Not all of them, but enough. But America has not sustained this kind of moral clarity and vision about about the catastrophe of poverty, the grotesque nature of poverty. As federal anti-poverty programs were expanded to include African Americans and new immigrants to the United States, politicians started closing and blinding the eye of America by playing on racist fears to erode confidence in the government's ability to fight poverty. Culture wars and a war on crime replaced our war on poverty in the 1980s, pitting Republicans and Democrats against one another on a host of social issues, while at the same time uniting them in a shared neoliberal vision that blames poor people for their problems and justifies extreme inequality as a necessary cost of economic growth. Child poverty in America today is higher than it was when Dr. King wept over children sharing an apple for lunch in rural Mississippi. But we have chosen to ignore the suffering that is hidden right in plain sight. Even before COVID-19, the grotesque number of 700 deaths a day from poverty existed in America. As the United States approaches 1 million deaths from COVID-19, the data demands a basic question. Why has the nation with the most resources to fight this disease experienced 20% of the world's death when we only represent 5% of the world's population? A study that we just did, conducted by the Poor People's Campaign and the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, recently looked at COVID-19 deaths in all 3,200 U.S. counties, comparing the death rates to the median income by county. We found that especially in the latter waves of the pandemic, poverty has been the accelerant. Poverty has been the accelerant of unnecessary deaths in America. But we've hidden it. In the U.S. counties with the lowest median incomes, residents were 5 times more likely to die from COVID-19 last fall than their fellow Americans who live in the nation's richest counties. Yes, race and political polarizations have played a part in the disparities of unnecessary deaths, but what makes us most vulnerable is the moral contradiction of poverty that we have tried to ignore and blind the American public from seeing for the last 40 years. As we watch the unfolding tragedy in Ukraine, Americans are aware and they are clear that the main difference between us and the Russian people is that we see the truth of the human slaughter that is hidden from them by Putin's propaganda. If they could see what we see, we know they could not allow it to continue in their names. But if this is true of human suffering, if because politicians have seen the suffering a half a world away, and they respond because they've seen it, then it must be true of the catastrophes hidden right here in our own cities, homeless encampments, and Walmart parking lots, and rural communities filled with families sleeping in cars because they cannot afford housing. We are no less culpable than the Russian people because we have been willing to go along with the narrative that blame the poor or hide their suffering behind arguments about book bans and cultural race theory. It is our moral duty to see, to open our eyes to the suffering of other human beings, especially those closest to us. And when we witness unnecessary suffering, it is our duty to act. So the truth is, my brothers and sisters, if Russia's atrocities in Ukraine demand action, so does the failure of the U.S. Senate to even pass something as simple as Build Back Better as just a step with provisions for affordable housing and green jobs and living wages for care workers and child tax credit that will immediately lift 4 million children out of poverty. If Putin's attack on democracy in Europe can unite Western democracies, then the assault on voting rights right here in America, the assault that's happening in state houses across America that will hurt the least of these, hurt the poor, hurt Black people, brown people, Asian people, Native people, Latino people, the disabled. If Putin's attack on democracy has united people, then there should be a unity among Senate Democrats, among Senate Republicans even, in their resolve to pass federal voting rights protections. The moral imperatives of these issues are no less pressing than the human suffering in Ukraine. If 30 million people are living without living wages and we are moved and distraught about what we see happening in Ukraine, when people are forced out of jobs and forced into poverty, then we cannot have a lesser moral concern right here. And you know the only difference between our collective response to their demands and our aid to President Zelensky is that we have believed the propaganda that tells us that the suffering of America's poor is either their fault or the inevitable cost of economic growth. And so as a nation, we have refused to see it. But the reality of 140 million poor and low-income Americans is breaking through in this movement. It's breaking through the lies that have hidden poverty in America. It's breaking through the lies of scarcity and the lies that we don't know what to do. It's breaking through the immoral blindness that we allow to happen. Poor and low-income people in this movement and low-wage workers are determined to stand together. That's why we're headed to Pennsylvania Avenue June 18th, Saturday. We're trying to make the nation see the pain. And poor and low-wealth people are leading us with advocates and religious leaders. We must hear them, and we must see. Every speech we give, every piece of data, every song that's sung, every story that's told must be to open up the vision of this society, to show the brokenness so that it will be instinctive to people that we must reconstruct the society where everybody has a right to live and everybody has a right to thrive. Every story. We must put a face on every number, the videos, everything at this poor people's assembly, this mass poor people's low-wage workers assembly and mall march in Washington to the poll. All of it aims to expose the damage and the death caused by the interlocking injustices of systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, denial of health care, the war economy, and the false moral narrative of religious nationalism, and to show that it doesn't have to exist. Open your eyes, America. That's what we will say. Because we still believe if some Americans can see the reality of poverty, many will join us in demanding a response that shifts the moral narrative, that demands a third reconstruction, and that is willing to build power among the poor, power that can change elections and to change and determine who sits in offices. Now is the time for moral clarity. Now is the time for a moral movement that opens up the eyes of the nation. Now is the time for people's ears to be turned into eyes. Now is the time to breathe fresh breath of justice and love into this democracy and make it healthy enough to have a change of heart, a transplant of the heart. But we've got to see it. We've got to show it. We've got to reveal it. We've got to build this stage so that poor and low wealth people have the stage. For 50 years, they've been denied the stage, denied been pushed to the back burners and blamed. But our movement says no more will America suffer from blindness. Somebody's been hurting our brothers and sisters. It's gone on far too long. We won't be silent. We won't be unheard. We won't be unseen. That's why we got to have a meeting. The meeting is to show what's wrong and how to make it right. The meeting is to show the injustice so we'll move toward justice. The meeting is to show the hurt so we'll move toward pain. The meeting is to show the problem so we will move toward solution. The meeting is to say, if you don't move, America, June 18th is not a day, but a declaration. There will be a massive nonviolent moral revolution, but we will not go back into hiding anymore. That's the very soul of the democracy. In fact, our very souls as human beings and creations of God depends on how we respond to this moment and how we open up the eyes of the nation. Let's go to work, y'all. Let's have an assembly and a mass gathering so big that nobody can turn away. Nobody can close their eyes. Nobody can say they don't know. And nobody can remain blind anymore. God grant us courage for the facing and the opening of the eyes of the nation in this moment, in this hour, in this generation. God bless you and love you. Let's make it happen.
Amen. Amen. See the appreciation in the chat and in the screens here for that grounding and inspiration for us to know that this is the time. This is the time for us to get organized, to get in step, and this is the movement that we've been called to. So thank you, Bishop Barber, and again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to jump right into some of the resources out there. For those on live stream, if you look around me, you'll see members of the state coordinating committees and the leaders from across the nation who are a part of this movement, who are building power state by state and are bringing buses from much further than I certainly would like to ride a bus from, but they are coming in numbers and organizing every day, and it's an amazing group to be a part of. What we'd like to do at this time is just to walk through with Reverend Kaz, and I will walk through some of the resources that are available to everyone, and wrap up in just a few minutes, and then pass it on to our executive director, Reverend Dr. Alvin O'Neill Jackson, and to our co-chair, Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris. And so I'm going to hop right in and see if I to the online resources. And so folks can go ahead and go to poorpeoplescampaign.org/June 18th. And if we could put that in the chat, both on Facebook and here, and you can follow along. This is our landing page. This is where you want to go for all updates and resources as we move towards June 18th in Washington, D.C. When you come here, you'll get a modal, which is a RSVP form where you can fill out, and you got to make sure that you click in person. And if you're interested in becoming a mobilizing captain and bringing a delegation to DC. To be a mobilizing captain, all that means is that you're bringing a group to DC. This can be your faith community, it can be your labor union, it can be your club, it can be your neighborhood, it can be your family. But we want to make sure that we have you identified and are supplying you with all the resources as we build over the next 60 days towards June 18th. And we'll ask some other questions there. And then as the weeks go on, we'll keep on asking you. If you have not signed up for the RSVP, please go right now and sign up for the RSVP to make sure that we have you counted as coming with us. If you have any trouble talking to folks about why we need to be in DC, there's a section here about why we march that has many of the resources and talking points that Bishop Barber discussed, as well as a video here. There's also right up front a organizing manual, which I'll pop up as well. This is a PDF you can print out or share around so that you have all the information you need when you're going to talk to organizations, going to talk to your friends about why we need to be in DC on June 18th. And so we have a why we march, we have calls to action, health, safety, and food. And this will continue to be updated with logistics and other information as we get closer to June. We also have a social media toolkit. And so I'm going to pop this open where you can see a bunch of the resources. And so we have flyers on here, we have the registration page, all the graphics, so many great graphics and print materials. If you're a church and you want to put a banner or a faith community of any sort or a business, you want to put a banner outside your building, you can go here and find the graphics for it and send it to your favorite printer and have that done. And there's lots of options in different sizes as well. We have the digital action guide. We have the Forward Together Song Challenge, which the Theo Musicology and Cultural Arts team is putting together to get songs about the movement out. We have other videos that we can share, sample email templates, all sorts of resources all throughout here that you can go and use on social media to get the word out about June 18th. I'm going to pass it now to Reverend Casimir Brown, who's going to take us through how to, if you are part of an organization, how you would sign up so that you can be a part of and be listed as a mobilizing partner for June 18th in Washington, D.C. Reverend Kaz?
Thank you so much, Reverend Rob. Good evening, everyone. So we know we have been doing a lot of work in mobilizing and organizing to June 18th, and we've been working with quite a bit of partners. And so one of the things that we would love to happen is to have all of our partners register as mobilizing partners. So if you look at the bottom right there, it says register your organization as a mobilizing partner. You go there, it gives you more information about what it means to be a mobilizing partner for June 18th. And then we also have a sign-up form where we're collecting information about who is your point of contact, not only generally for mobilizing, but who's your point of contact for social media? How many people do you think will be able to mobilize? Is your organization a local, state, national, international organization? And this is a way for us to not only connect people with the resources, but to help get the word out. So we strongly encourage everybody who is able to register their organization. This can be faith affiliated, non-faith affiliated, unions, whatever it is. We want to make sure they're counted as a mobilizing partner. The link is in the chat. Once you are registered, UE will be in touch with you to give you the dates for our mobilization trainings to go more in depth as far as all the great digital resources we have. And we'll be able to keep you updated with the latest digital resources, social media updates, videos, everything will be connected as you register as a mobilizing partner. And one of the great things that we have is that we have many people on the team that can reach out. So if you're in the States, please feel free to direct your partners to this page to get them connected to this wonderful resource. We have a new digital drumbeat that just went out this week. Every single week, there's something that you can do on social media to get the word out. And our team has made it so wonderfully easy where you're literally copying and pasting the graphic, copying and pasting the verbiage, or you could be creative and make your own. We just want to get the word out. And this digital drumbeat is one of the many ways to get your organization and get the word out to as many people as possible to get them registered and here to Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Reverend Kaz. Appreciate that. poorpeoplescampaign.org. If you go there, one of the first things you'll see is to get to this site, which is poorpeoplescampaign.org/June 18th. One last resource before I pass it on to Pastor Jackson is our rally buses. And so right below, you'll see this. Get on a bus to Washington, D.C., and it'll take you to rally.co, which is a bus rideshare platform. And so this is a way that we can provide people with a way to sign up for buses, and so that you don't have to go through the process of getting a bus, getting the insurance, finding the driver and the parking, but that you can just work with Rally and they will get high quality buses insured and all of that. You can actually work with them even if you're bringing your own bus, and they have a cool app that helps to allow you to find the bus. That's the big, every time after rally, or big demonstration, the number one question you hear everyone asking is, where's our bus? Well, with Rally, you don't have to worry about that. You'll be able to find it on your phone. But if you go here, you'll be able to sign up for rides, from all these locations from across the nation. These are places where rides exist. They're not all full, certainly, but we need folks to go on and fill them up. And so you see here in Birmingham, you can sign up for a bus that's coming on Friday, for instance. So rally.co can be found at the website, or you can go to rally.co/PPC. If you're interested in working with your state coordinating committee, every state has a coordinating committee and team that's working on this. And so if you're interested in working with them and getting out, please go to our website as well. And you'll find contact information for each of the states. The state's emails are thestate@poorpeoplescampaign.org. So Alabama at poorpeoplescampaign.org, for instance. And please shoot them a note and they will get you linked in. And finally, we want as many folks as possible, especially poor and low income folks and young people, to be at this march. It will be it'll be transformative for all of us, but especially for anyone we can get there it'll be the first time at a rally and march in DC. Those are the folks that we want. We want everyone there, but those who will remember this, and we know that it's going to be different than anything we've done before together. And it's going to be a miraculous and beautiful day, but it's really not just a day. It will be our jumping off point for continuing to build this movement as we head towards the elections and beyond. And we're thrilled to be in this. We all feel so honored just to be a part of this amazing group of people that have come together to build this movement. And so with that, I want to pass it on to our fearless leader of the Mass Poor Peoples and Low Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington and St. Paul's, is our National Executive Director, the Reverend Dr. Alvin O'Neill Jackson.
Thank you, Reverend Rob. Greetings, everyone, tonight. It's wonderful to be on this call with you tonight. So grateful for all of you and the work that you're doing, Reverend Rob and Reverend Casimir, our teams, Kate Ziegler, and I'm going to be passing it to, I guess, Reverend Liz, our co-chair, in just a moment. But I want to just say that our numbers are building. Thousands of people, literally thousands, have already registered for June 18th. And those numbers are building every day. We're watching those numbers growing. The assembly is growing every day. And so as the team has already mentioned, if you've not registered, if you'll just take a moment even tonight and do that. And then that you would also reach out to others, reach out to others. And we're calling mobilizing captains or mobilizing partners. And people ask, well, what's a mobilizing captain or a mobilizing partner? It just means that you're not just bringing yourself to the march, to the assembly march, but you're reaching out and mobilizing, you're organizing others, bringing others. So I trust that you will all be doing that on this call tonight, reaching out to others. The people are coming, all roads are leading to Washington. People are coming all kinds of ways, but we're grateful for that wonderful resource we have in Raleigh. I want to just say that the day will on June 17th, on Friday evening, June 17th, we're going to start with a big communal meal at Freedom Plaza. That's at 14th and Pennsylvania Avenue around 5 p.m. In the afternoon from 5 to 7. And we're inviting all of our unhoused neighbors and friends to come and be a part of that. Reverend Liz and members of the team and I had a big call earlier today with the local faith leaders and others in the DC area, and they are hosting that meal. So there will be a big communal meal at 5 o'clock, and all of the early arrivals, we invite you to come if you're getting there the day before, to come and join us for that meal at 5 o'clock. And then at 7:30 at the Lincoln Memorial, we will have a national candlelight memorial service, remembering those folks we've lost to COVID, nearly 1 million already. And in the days ahead, we know that we will be at over 1 million people we've lost to COVID, and remembering people in the Ukraine we've lost in Ukraine and other folks we've lost through poverty and racism and the interlocking injustices. So there will be a powerful memorial service that evening at the Lincoln Memorial. And then the next morning on June 18th, we will start with a Shabbat service at 7:30 at Freedom Plaza, and then a march down Pennsylvania Avenue. Some of us will be involved in that, to 3rd and Pennsylvania, with the program starting at 10 a.m. So look forward to all of you being a part of a powerful day on June 18th, but not just a day, but as we declare, it's a declaration of an ongoing moral committed movement, building power and calling the nation to fully address poverty and low wealth from the bottom up. So look forward to all of you being a part of it. and look forward to you reaching out to others and inviting them to join us on June 17th and 18th in Washington, D.C.
Yes, let the church say amen. We will bring on our co-chair, Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris. If you will bring us to a close and send us forth.
Indeed, and always great to see everybody, and have been marching with people and singing with people and testifying with people that are on this call in the last couple of weeks and over the past couple of years. Just wanted to reflect for a minute, especially with those that are gathered this evening on this call, and the many folks that are following on in Facebook as well. Just reflecting some on where we as the Poor People's Campaign have come. In December of 2017, we called for a massive wave, which ended up being the largest and most expansive wave of nonviolent civil disobedience. Folks, when we called for that, when we said we were going to do it, folks said we couldn't, and yet we did, and we far surpassed what anyone thought we could do. We gathered then the following year for a Poor People's Moral Action Congress, and we had 1,000 delegates from all across the country, from every state. And we held the largest candidates forum with presidential candidates who all then pledged that they heard our call to put poverty and low wealth and our issues at the center of our political discourse. And while we still have to be building power around that, we started to flex some of our power then. And then we marched into Congress and into that House Budget Committee and said, we have a plan. And we kept on organizing, and from there we started to organize for a massive moral assembly in Washington, D.C., but we had to move it online. And we gathered almost 3 million people for a mass Poor People's Assembly and a moral march on Washington that was online, and millions of people across the country saw it, heard it, saw their own stories, heard their own realities, and saw the power that was growing. And then we kept on organizing, and we reached out to almost 3 million poor and low income people in the 2020 elections. And we reached out to them in ASL. We reached out to them bilingually, and we were able to make a difference, make a change in that election. And then this summer, when people were saying, we can't get living wages, we can't get voting rights, we can't get immigrant rights, and we don't see the connections, we kept the nation paying attention to the real issues that are facing half of this country that have only been exposed and deepened. And we called ourselves into what we're doing this coming June. And so I think my message in closing this evening is just look at our power. Look at what we can do, and look at what has been the only thing that has ever changed society for the better. If we look at history, if we look at our lives today, here we are, uniting, organizing, mobilizing, registering, engaging, and empowering people for a movement. And so I know that we are ready, and we're going to keep on building. I love that in the marches that we've been doing on that mobilization tour for June 18th, we've been singing this song. And when we marched from the press club after releasing our pandemic report, we've said, we are ready. We are ready. We are ready for a change. We are ready. We are ready. We are ready. Here we come. And indeed, that is the message. We are coming, and we are going to come in the thousands, and we are going to make this nation pay attention to the needs and the demands, the powerful visionary demands that are coming out of our communities, that are coming out of our pain, but are not stopping with pain, but are showing the powerful movement that is building. And so we know that we'll be able to project that all across the nation and world on June 18th. And so the message is keep it up, because it is making a difference. So I can't wait to see you all on upcoming calls. I can't wait to be on buses and in marches with you all. And I cannot wait until we are there in the numbers as the saints go marching in on Pennsylvania on June 18th. 2022, June 18th, 2022, because we are ready and here we come. And so I want us to close out tonight like we do. For folks that are on Facebook, you should follow along with us. But for folks that are here in the Zoom, let us indeed close out like we close all of our calls. If you can come off mute, I'm going to lead us in our forward together. We're going to do it 3 times, and we're going to do it so that people in DC that are not living in DC can hear us. And so here we go. Forward together.
Forward together.
One step
back.
Forward together.
one step
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Thank you all.
See your bus.
Good night, everybody.
See your bus.
Time to have a meeting. I'll see you there.
Y'all at the meeting. See y'all at the meeting.
There.
See you all there.
See y'all there. Bye-bye.
Amen.
Thank you.
We ready?
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.